Hey guys, Mindstone here, and today we will be looking at zoolock. More specifically, it's going to be Deathrattle zoolock. So it's this deck which fills the board constantly with a lot of tokens, and then it actually kills these tokens to make some really interesting effects happen. So yeah, before we just jump into the cards, I'm just going to say that this deck really revolves around playing things and killing things. It's about also having things on the board, but it's very much the conversional stage, so going from the hand to the board or from the board to the graveyard, that's important for the deck, because that's where you really maximize the effect of your triggering effects, or the impact of your triggering effects. Also, it's built up of activation cards, the cards that activate your triggers, and then it's built up of trigger cards, the ones that sort of make an effect out of your activators. And a healthy balance between these means that the deck can efficiently activate the triggers, and there will be a lot of triggers for all the activators to have maximum effect. But without further ado, let's jump into the cards. So first card up is Forbidden Ritual. This card is really just an activator card, because we have a lot of cards that scale off when we summon things, so therefore when we play Forbidden Ritual and we summon a lot of things, we can easily trigger these a lot of times. There's the thing about Forbidden Ritual that it's actually just a good refill too, so if somebody just cleared our board, we can just play Forbidden Ritual and we suddenly have a new board, which is fairly good. We're usually not going to play it for less than 3 minions, because it's just not going to be that powerful then. It's sort of as when you don't have anything else to play, it's a very good play, because you don't actually get a lot of tempo from it, but it's very flexible, so that's kind of making up for it. Yeah, but the card's there for just, we are using it to trigger effects. Yeah, next card up is Possessed Villager. This is also an activator. The card's a really strong 1-drop, so we play this guy and he's likely to stick for turn 2 or 3 something, because he's not very threatening, so our opponent's not going to like put that much into killing him, even though he is annoying. He actually packs some pretty big things, because he's a 1/1 at first, and then he's a 1/1 afterwards too, but not actually having a divine shield like Agent Squire is making him like a better version, because he's actually going to die through converting from the 1/1 drop to the other 1-drop. That not only means that he dies, it also means that there's another one summoned, which is mainly what we care about for things that trigger off summoning. So yeah, he's just really powerful. Not really all that much to say to it. Just a good 1-drop. Then we've got Sanguine Reveler. This card is a little bit more an interesting card, because it's actually a trigger effect, sort of. It's one of these that we use with our activators to get something out of them. But it's also sort of an activator for some of the very specific trigger effects. So what it is that on turn 1 we can play this guy if we have coin with Possessed Villager, and he's very good, because he becomes a 3/3 and we kill the Possessed Villager to get a 1/1 out of it. That's quite a strong start. That's really going to bully most opponents, so it's fairly strong. And in most cases, it's just really good to just play it and kill some 1/1 and, well, get a 3/3 for that. That's usually something you're going to be happy about, because you essentially get 2/2 of stats for 1 mana. So that's fairly good. It's also used to trigger your Deathrattles that you want to have triggered. We've got a certain one we're going to be talking about later. Yeah, but just sort of this hybrid activator thing. You're not going to be afraid of throwing him at 1/1s. Just have to remember that, because this deck is really oriented about getting a lot of tempo, so sometimes you just have to keep your cards going even though you don't get the maximum value of them. Then we've got Voidwalkers. These cards are here for the defensive capacities they've got. So they're going to be a nuisance on turn 1, because our opponent's not going to be able to clear them with their 1-drop. So they're going to stick around. That's nice. They also protect our trigger effects, which is really important, because that means we can maximize the value from them a little bit more. And yeah, just against aggro, it's going to take just a little bit of something to punch through it, because it has 3 health and actually is quite destructive. Yeah, so just fairly solid one there. I've got Direwolf Alpha. This card is a triggering effect. It's what we use when we have a wide board, so a lot of entities that can, well, die easily. And we play this one in the middle, and we start trading. Because when we trade, um, the minions that we trade with die, and other ones slide in to get the attack buff. So we can easily trade a full board of 1/1s into a full board of 2/2s if we play this guy in the middle, which is really nice. It's very powerful if you use it that way. Another benefit from it is actually that you can use it to just have a little bit better trades in general. If something would survive with 1 health, you can play this guy. You can actually kill the things properly. And he's also just considered to be a 4/4, well, a 4/2 minion. He has 4 attack and 2 health for 2 mana. Because the 2 attack he has himself are nice, right? But the 2 attack points he's giving, and 1 to each of the minions besides him, also kind of counts like his attack. So it's actually 4/2 you play for 2 mana, which is just pretty good stats. Yeah. Then we've got not Dire. That was what we just went through. We've got Knife Juggler. So Knife Juggler is just like Direwolf. He's like this snowbally 2-drop that we play, and he just goes crazy, putting out a lot of value. So what I really like about Knife Juggler is that these knives he throws, they're like making up for us not having any real spells in our deck. It's like we don't need removal actually, because Knife Juggler is sort of going to serve as our removal combined with minion trading, and he's actually quite good at that. Because if we play Knife Juggler, maybe Forbidden Ritual, we just suddenly get a lot of knives. We get a lot of random damage scattered on the enemy board. That's going to actually beat out a lot of aggro decks if our knives are just not all the time going face. It happens that they go face all the time, that we're not that happy about it. But most of the time they're actually going to be fairly good. Our opponent is also going to be super scared of this card, so they're going to clear it before it gets out of hand most times. Yeah, so it's pretty strong, but we want to protect this one because it's very important for us to gain an advantage. Because every time we play a minion while he's on the board, gain a little bit of an advantage. So we want to do that. So next card up is Ravasol Runt. This card is like only in there because for 2 mana you get a 2/2 with an adaptation. Now that's just good. It's like it's not an amazing card, right? Because you don't always get the adaptation, and sometimes you don't get the right adaptation, and sometimes it's like not that amazing. But I still think he's good, just because 2 mana for 2/2 with any adaptation is usually good, unless we consider it's like stealth or something. But most of the time I'm actually going to take the tokens, because I really like summoning more things with this deck, so I can get more Knife Juggler or knives thrown out or something. So yeah. But other noteworthy adaptations are Health, Attack, Divine Shield, and potentially also Wind Fury if you don't get Attack. Yeah, those are the ones I could just come up with. So yeah, then we've got Darkshire Councilman. This guy's like Knife Juggler, just a little bit different. So what he does is that you play him on turn 3 and not much happens, and then on turn 4 you jam Forbidden Ritual, and he becomes a 5/5, which you just play for 3 mana. So if you're ahead, this guy's super powerful because you play him, he's not going to be dealt with, and he's going to grow fast. This guy is easily growing to 10 attack in this deck. That's not a problem if he's not dealt with. So he's like a must deal with card, but he's got 5 health, so he's actually fairly difficult to deal with. And if you're in parity, so your opponent's actually doing fairly well, you're often just going to make him go to 2 or 3 attack, and you're going to trade a little bit with him. And he's fairly good at that too, just because, he does hit for quite a bit. On turn 3, he's not used to just die. Well, he usually doesn't die from like our opponent's turn 3 or 4, so we get to attack once with him at least, which is usually going to result in us killing something. So he's usually at least a 1-for-1. Yeah, so just it's a card that's super strong because the deck is built around to really quickly power it up, so to get a lot of attack. Yeah, then I've got Devilsaur Egg. This is the Deathrattle I was mentioning previously when I talked about Sanguine Reveler. This is the one you want to kill, because if you kill this guy, you get a 5/5, and you don't really care about the 0/3 body. It doesn't matter. So yeah, it's for killing this guy. You should remember that when you kill it, you actually get the summoning. So Darkshire Councilmen and Knife Jugglers are going to trigger when you do that. So remember to, if you want to kill it and also want to play some of these cards, make sure to play them before you kill this one. But yeah, the card's there for being killed with your other minions, and it's there for preventing your board from being destroyed by ball clear. So if the mage, the enemy mage, wants to flame strike our board because it's quite wide and he can kill a lot of things with that, this one is actually going to be an argument against flame striking the board, because if you flame strike the board, this one turns from a 0-3 into a 5-5, and I don't think anybody wants the enemy 0-3 to turn into a 5-5 at any point of the game. It's very rare, at least, unless you can remove it instantly. So this card's just like, it's insurance for not for not having your board cleared, and it is also sort of just a 5-5 that you can easily make with Senku in Reveler or something. Yeah, so it's fairly powerful. Then we've got Bonds. Bonds is like probably the big legendary thing. Yeah, we've got another one, but later. But this guy is like really good for the deck. So, as you might have mentioned, the deck has a few Deathrattles in it. We've got the Devil Zoics and the Possessed Villagers, and we've got another one in the deck also. So, if you pull any of these, it's really amazing, because they just get a lot of value there. You should consider that if you get Possessed Villager, the 1-drop, you get a Possessed Villager for free and a 3/4, which is like worth approximately 3 mana. Let's just say that. So that's kind of okay then, right? Because you get a little more. Possessed Villager is worth a little bit more than 1 mana, but he only costs 1 mana because he costs a card too. So yeah, never mind that. But it's fine with Possessed Villager. If you hit Devil Zoic, that's the jackpot really most of the time, because Devil Zoic is a 1/1, very easy to trade into anything, and it leaves a 5/5 behind. So that's worth 4 mana, if I remember that there's a card called, I think, Twilight Summoner, doing exactly what this card does. So then he's suddenly worth 7 mana on turn 4, which is pretty good. Then we can get the last Deathrattle, we'll get to that later, but it's pretty much the same situation as Devil Zoic. But you can also get something like Darkshire Councilman, or Knife Juggler, or Direwolf Alpha, or White Walker, and all these are actually fine just because they have some sort of effect that can make them more than a 1/1 that does nothing. So yeah, it's just a powerful card, and the ability to play two entities with 1 card is just good in this deck, because we have so many things that trigger off it. So let's say Knife Juggler. If you had Knife Juggler on the board, you really want to play this guy because you get 2 knives for it. That's just one example. Yeah, but Bond is just super powerful. He's definitely a must-have for this deck, I think. And then we've got Defender of Argus, which is like the way we make our opponent kill our dudes that they don't want to kill. So if we're up against some other Sue deck, then we play this guy on our Devil Zoic, and the Devil Zoic has taunt, and they have to kill it, because they will have to get through occasionally, so they might want to just kill it. We also get to kill things with the Devil Zoic, because we get an attack on it suddenly. But the idea is just that we force our enemy to actually spend time and effort to kill it, instead of us having to spend time and effort. So that's kind of what he does. It's nothing fancy, it's just you make sure that your opponent has to do something rather than you do. And then, considering that he's a 2/3 for 4 mana, that's not very good, but you get +1 for every minion that you hit with the effect. You can hit up to 2, so he potentially becomes a 4/5 for 4 mana, which is fine, and giving 2 other minions taunt, that's pretty good. And actually, some of the stats have charged, because you can attack with those buffed up minions instantly, most of the time, if they were already on the board. So he's a little bit better than that, actually. So yeah, just super solid card too. Then we've got Avenus Fedorax. This is like the other way we're going to kill our Devil Zoics, and 1/1 for that matter, because we play this guy and we kill something, obviously not something that we care about, something little, something that cannot attack this turn, something that, yeah, whatever. And we get to really summon a powerful minion, because a 4/4 with 2 adaptations is really scary. Consider +3 attack and Wind Fury. That's a lot of damage. That's like the extreme damage. Try to instead consider +3 attack, +3 health. Then we've got the 4 mana 7/7 without overload, for that matters. And if we just pick Divine Shield Wind Fury, that's a fairly strong minion that cannot be destroyed by priests. Shadow Word Death. just solid overall. We can even take taunt and health to make sure we will survive behind this fatty we have now created against something like, let's say, Pirate Warrior. So there's a lot of uses for it. It's very, very flexible, and therefore it gains a little bit of additional value that way. So yeah, but it really also gains some power from being a turn 4 card. Oh, it costs 4, so you can play on turn 4. So you can play Devil's Warrior on turn 3, and then this one on turn 4, and you have a super strong turn 4, because you essentially just played a 5/5 and a 4/4 with 2 adaptations. So, really powerful. Yeah. Next card up, Skillomancer. This card is the last Deathrattle we have, and he is amazing. So 2/2 for 5 mana. Let's just say it as it is, it's garbage. But an 8/8 for 5 mana, that's pretty damn good. If you get a 2/2 and an 8/8, then we're very happy. But obviously it cannot be both things at the same time. So you play it as a 2/2 and you hope your opponent's going to clear it. They're going to clear it in just a few opportunities. Well, there's a few times they're going to clear it. First time, well, the first situation they're going to clear it in is if they want to bolt clear, and they want to bolt clear so badly they don't care about you getting an 8/8 from it. So that happens at times, and then you're just happy because you got an 8/8 and your board was not completely cleared that way. That's pretty nice. The other time they're going to have it cleared is when it has taunt, and it has taunt because it's Defender of Argus or another card in our deck. And then we're even more happy because then we don't get our board cleared and we get an 8/8. So that's just super amazing. You can pull it from Barnes. If you pull it from Barnes, it's just a 1/1, but your opponent cannot play board clear. That's the way you're going to read it. Your opponent just cannot play board clear because they get absolutely demolished if they do, and it hits for 1 every turn while it's on the board, and your opponent's not going to clear it, which is nice if you're the aggressor. Yeah. So yeah, not much to say about it. Just a powerful minion. It's a powerful minion. It has lots of stats. Then we've got our other legendary, which is the Black Knight. This card is in here because, well, the Lich King's a thing, and people like taunts, and there's pretty much taunts in every deck, so we're very often going to get to use him. If the deck has a little bit of trouble dealing with taunts, we don't like to kill taunts. They usually have a lot of health, and we don't have a lot of health, so our minions die when they attack taunts, and we don't like that. So therefore we use the Black Knight to kill the taunt, and we go face. So, as small ones was, we shall be too. Yeah, but it's just killing Lich Kings most of the time, and I guess anything that you feel like you don't want to have your minions heading into is a fine target, but you should consider if there's a bigger taunt coming, obviously, and you might want to save it for that. So yeah, this guy can be swapped for Spellbreaker too if you're feeling like, especially Paladin becomes a nuisance, because Paladin has a little bit of trouble with Spellbreaker because of all their buffs and such. But the Black Knight's still a solid choice there. I might even swap something else. Let's say a Ravagel runs for Spellbreaker in that case, and keep the Black Knight, because the Black Knight's really good against like a lot of decks out there. But Spellbreaker essentially does the same thing, letting you bypass a taunt, but it doesn't kill it, so they'll have it as a normal minion the next time. Yeah, but enough about that. Next card up is Bone Mare. I've talked about this card a lot of times. I'm just going to briefly mention and briefly summarize it with one phrase. This card is broken. It is completely busted. Okay, that was more than one phrase, but let's just go on. This card is busted, and it's too good. And it should definitely be in our deck, because we have a lot of things that synergize with it. Devil's Warrior, Skillomancer, 1/1s in general. Yeah, super powerful card. We like it a lot. So, not more to say there. Next card up is Sea Giant. Sea Giant is our big dude, and however, he is not actually that expensive, because he never costs 10. Like, he essentially never does. If he costs 10, then you're doing it wrong. This guy costs 2, 3, 4, something like that. Maybe even 5. You're not going to play him for more than 5 most of the time, unless you have nothing else to do. This guy is probably something you play in your mid game. Your like biggest, most costly thing is actually Bone Mare. This is something that after you establish board control, because your opponent's a control deck and they don't really care about it, then you play this guy and they suddenly start to care about it. That's what you do. It makes sure that we don't only have a wide board, we also have a tall board. So that means that our opponent cannot use a dedicated sort of removal. So it cannot be hard removal and it cannot be board clear, because neither are going to completely clear the board. Which is very, very important, and that's what Sea Giant does for the deck. So yeah, and he's also a great target for taunt if our opponent's aggressive, because he has a hellish large body they have to go through. So yeah, that was about the deck. I hope you guys kind of get the idea of it, but we'll go into an example game now, so you'll really get the hang of it. Okay guys, so here we are going into an example game with the Necromancer Warlock, as I call it. It's just the zoolock, but yeah, I like to call it Necromancer Warlock because there's so much death in it. And we will be finding a mage. Okay, so right off the bat we'll be anticipating this is Exodia Mage. Exodia Mage is not that good for us because they have a hellish lot of bulk clear. And we don't like that. So we're gonna throw both Ravasol runs because we don't really have the ability to play 2 1-drops on turn 1. We're gonna keep the direwolf just pushing more damage. So yeah. We sadly didn't get a 1-drop, so that's fairly bad. However, he didn't keep the leftmost card, so it might actually not be Quest Mage. It's very likely to not be when he didn't keep that. Yeah, but we'll just be playing the Knife Juggler to put some pressure. So Archaeologist, which isn't really surprising me too much. Makes a lot of sense for anything which isn't like Exodia Mage. We'll just be putting up defense so we can sort of have a really important snowballing minions behind the taunt, which is what White Walker is really good at doing. With it not being Quest Mage, this one might actually be really interesting. Really difficult too. Because Quest Mage is like an okay matchup, it's not good, but you can play it. Where about every other mage deck out there is bad. So obviously that's not what we wanted to see from him. But we might be able to do something though. So we don't want Sanguine Reveler to kill that one. We will just tap like this. Play it a little slowly then, but it's sort of okay. I don't think we'll be rushed down by this guy. We're probably going to play out Skillmancer next turn if he doesn't go crazy. If he goes crazy with some minions, then we might not be very happy. It could be Secret Mage actually, but I believe that's a fairly good matchup because they're going to prey upon decks that have big spells, so they can counterspell those, and big minions, so they can copy those. But we can actually control what we'll be playing quite a lot because we have small minions and we only have 2 spells in the deck. They're not very significant to have counterspell because they cost 0. But he definitely likes secrets, and we might just get to see one here, I'd imagine.
Runs out on me.
But as Secret Mage, he is actually prone to be pressure aggressive, which is quite scary, but we'll see. He does that. Yeah, so there we go, there's a secret. He's going to trade it. I think that's a mistake, because trading there doesn't really get him anywhere. Yeah, because his minion was sort of a big threat to me, so I probably would have killed it anyways, and therefore it doesn't really make sense for him to trade. But now we have 1 Skillmancer down, so he's sort of stopped from using Bolt Clear, which is pretty nice. We still can't really make Sanguine Reveler do anything, which is kind of annoying. But we gotta live with that. There's like not much to say, just hope he doesn't play Cabal Crystal Runner, but I think he has that one. He's like hovering a card, I think that's Cabal Crystal Runner. And I don't really see the argument for not playing it. So I think if you've got Cabal Crystal Runner, you gotta play it. So if he doesn't play it, he doesn't have it. That's what we can deduce from that. Oh, the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Well, we're not afraid of that, for sure. So I'd like to play Darkshire Councilman into Forbidden Ritual, but I think it's going to be counterspelled, and then we don't really have a great play from there. So I feel like we just Forbidden Ritual, have that one. Oh, Mana Bind. That's interesting. Oh, guess that's the new Tempo Mage thing. It's still fine because we get like a big board, and we can actually start working with our Defender Vargas and Sanguine Reveler from that. And he still won't be able to board clear because then he's going to eat up an 8/8. So we're still fine. We are actually not unhappy about filling the 1/1, even though it would usually be easy to clear it. So there's another spell. If we anticipate that this spell was not counterspell, we knew it was counterspell. It could very well be Mirror Entity, but it could be Iceborne too. So these are the ones we're anticipating. Okay, we definitely want to kill the Sorcerer's Apprentice because it hits for a ton. I think we want to play the Darkshire Councilman. It's going to get mirrored, but that's sort of okay. Because we're just going to kill it. Then we're going to kill this one. Because he's going to run out of damage quite quickly if he doesn't have his minions to push it in with. And now that he has to go through this one, he really even more needs his minions to kind of do something. So if we just stall him out a little bit, I think we can definitely take this one. Because he's not really ready to just start throwing damage spells at my face yet. I don't think so. So you could use the Forbidden Ritual, but I don't think that's very good. I don't think you get anything out of it, really. That one, however, is quite an interesting choice. So we're really looking for something low cost right now, because we want to get our Fedorax and Sanguine Reveler to start doing something. Especially, I think Devil Sorek, which is like mid cost, would be good. But anything like Possessed Villager or Void Walker would be fairly good too.
I wonder. Time runs out on me.
But it seems to be that classic net deck Tempo Mage list. So I'm pretty sure he's playing Antonidas. So we're just going to keep building a huge board and not really caring if he's trying to board clear it, because he cannot. He cannot board clear without facing down 2 8/8s, which are going to end the game fairly quickly. So therefore we just don't care about board clear, which is a great advantage about this deck. So you don't have to actually care, because it doesn't make sense for them to do it, which means you can overextend in ways you usually wouldn't be able to. So there you see I got the 8/8, which is good, but I also had these two buffed up, which is just an additional bonus. Oh, so he's going to use the Mirror Image, and he's going to have a pretty good defense. So now we know there's no other taunts in Mage, so we're pretty happy about just using Black Knight here. And we definitely don't want a hero power, because hero powering here would mean that we would go fairly low on health, and we don't want to do that. So I'm concerned this is 10 damage plus 2. It's not quite enough to kill him. Not even if I play this one. But I think I will still make sure to kill this one. Have a little bit more damage done. I'm afraid that we're going to die over the next few turns. But there's not much we can do about it. We're just hoping that he doesn't have enough damage in his hand. But he might. We couldn't really outrace him anyways if he did have it. Because over 2 turns he would be able to deploy enough fireballs to kill us. So we just have to hope he's going short of it, and that we can kill him next turn. Well, at least set him to 0. Set him to 1. But this would be a winning state against pretty much any other deck. But because Mage has the option to actually just burn us out, they might be okay. However, I think that's a great mistake, because he's never going to win on the board. So, well, but I think he recognized he did not have enough damage to actually kill me. So instead, he just chose to surrender. I would anticipate he would have had the fireball, and he would have had that Spin Ritual, obviously, and apart from that, there wasn't too many cards, right? So there were probably some minions, some mana worms he didn't really find time to deploy or something, which just didn't really make sense against our deck because we would just have been beating them down. Maybe there was even bolt clear, which you couldn't play because of the skillamancers. But yeah, that was about how the deck plays. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and you might try it out the deck for yourself, and I will see you in my next video.